Hello, everyone. Welcome to another round of the Galactic Podracing circuit. I'm Game Draca, joined by Delmaray today, and we are starting on, and I'm not making this up, to Training, which is Paige's best track.
Yeah, it's a very surprising pick, to say the least. I don't think Beleos was quite aware of how one-sided Paige's ability is on this track compared to other tracks.
Yeah, it's like, he just told us he's like a tenth of a second off world record.
Yeah, 10th or 2, it's like... and I think Paige's, I think she said 4th best or something like that on the track, and on Winter Training, that's saying something.
The top times are like off. Yeah, the top times are off by like hundredths of a second. Yeah, wonder if they're gonna go for tourney record here, because he could.
I believe Paige actually will, because tourney record is by Mikey Berg right now, and it's like a 135.9. So she's certainly capable of doing it. Like, there's no reason for her to not be able to do it.
Here we go. Probably one of the most lopsided matches of the tournament.
At least in terms of beginning maps.
I still can't believe this. It's like just so solid.
I really didn't expect this at all. I thought that we were never going to see Paige on Boonta Training Course, to be honest.
Here's Beleos off, and now Paige is off. Let's see how fast she can go.
Alright, so good lines from Paige so far, going up that beginning hill. Completely expected, of course. Paige is already, despite being behind, past Beleos on the course. Oh, buddy.
Yeah.
You can see Paige going for a jump there, cuts off some of the track, and saves her from having to try to avoid a rock that Sebulba was going to break for her.
32 first lap.
That's a very good first lap. Even with that heat, that's like very fast. We're looking for a really fast time here. Beleos' only hope is if Paige goes too crazy and somehow manages to crash, but even then it seems like this might be too lopsided already. Looks like we're having a little sink here real quick. Alright.
And the sink just made it even more lopsided.
Yeah, Paige has already completed 2 laps. Okay, second lap makes sense given the first lap heat and whatnot, but Beleos is just now coming in. Ooh, man. Pretty good heat so far, I'd say, for Paige. Coming into this final stretch here. Beleos just now about to get to the canyon as Paige is leaving it. Oh, no! That might have just ruined the tourney record. That little bump right there.
Yep.
Yeah, dang it. That's so sad. That's so sad. Oh, you hate to see that.
And that is probably the only time Paige is probably gonna race this track.
That was her one chance, and it just got killed by the tiniest of tiny rocks. Oh, yes. You hate to see that.
Okay.
Yep, Paige just said now to never play that track again. It's so true.
Difference of 10 seconds.
So, as you can see on our screen now, or on your screen, I suppose, not our screen, but anyway, Paige has brought up the sheet here for us to look at. It's a little bit stretched, kind of hard to see, but we'll go ahead and keep you posted on what they say, so that way you can keep track of it somewhat.
Okay, so Beleos first permaban.
I would expect to see, not obviously he has no reason to ban Boonta Training, but I would expect to see something like M100 if he knows anything about Paige. Fire Mountain, which is a reasonable pick. First permaban for Beleos. Let's see what Paige does. Mongaza Speedway. That's gonna be a pretty common pick for higher or top players compared to lower players, I would say, just because MGS has that comeback potential of one mistake and the lower ranked player could take a win. All right, let's see what Beleos does for a second track ban. All right, looks like our second track ban from Beleos is gonna be Sebulba's Legacy. And the second track ban from Paige is going to be Gauntlet.
Yep. temp pod band coming. Mars Grow.
I wonder if he's picking something on the maybe more turn ratey side, like something like Doug Derby or something like that. It could be possible.
Go to classic band
That's
from Paige.
That's a good temp band given the Mars. Nice reaction from Beleos there, going to the Bunta Classic temp band. Wonder if that means he was planning on going there, or if that he means he would never pick that track. All right, looks like we're going to Zugga Challenge with no forces. So just a nice, good old Ben race off. Love to see it. Now, personally, I don't really care all that much for Zugga myself. It's a little bit boring, but we might see some interesting deaths here.
Dozer always seems to sucker punch you on the second, third laps.
If you're going on a good pace, first, second laps can be pretty easy, but that third lap, you really got to be going fast to not have to take a hard break on that one. And even then, can be hard to avoid the tires completely. Oh, and yeah, we gotta remind Paige to switch off of that screen. Don't want her to do the same. Oh, Paige is saying, oh, there it goes. All right, cool. Just don't want her to make the same mistake that Ace did. Yeah. Casually leave it up. All right, so I'm not sure if they're going to do much warming up, but it should be a pretty dramatic difference from Bunta Training Course to Zugga Challenge. For reference, I'm talking about traction there. So Bunta Training Course is a very high traction track, trying to really hold boosts to where you normally can't. Versus Zugga Challenge, you really want to just get nice, clean turns and hold boosts around certain turns and better lines, right? So you want to use a generally lower traction, especially compared to Bunta Training is much lower than that. So how did you feel about Zugga back in the day, Draco? Since you've been running the game for so long, what did you think of it back then?
First lap easy, and then the last two, Dozer sucker punched because of its orientation.
Yeah, the track overall is fairly simple, I would say. I mean, there's not really much happening. You see they get some somewhat rough turns at the beginning here, going in between these vehicles, but other than that... Oh, and speaking of the vehicles, Beleos takes a crash on one. Pretty easy to do without good routing and practice of it.
Yeah. Fun. Yeah, because the timing of the Dozer was so optimal on the first lap that I just did my single lap record back in the day with just one lap because I didn't want to have the build-up lap throw the Dozer off on the second lap.
Yeah. With the, tries to repair and somehow manages to crash while repairing. That's an unfortunate death. And it was in the hairpins. I mean, there's worse places to die, I suppose. But you can see there's a massive gap in between where... another death in the tubes now, too. Beleos not having a good time here at Zugga. Paige still crashless. Look to see what her time is. World record pace would be about a 126 for all three laps. Really, they're all pretty similar times, so be interesting to see how close Paige is. Oh, 4 seconds off on the lap. Okay, so I would say we can expect to see around 4:30 is pretty reasonable. Probably a little bit faster if she stays deathless. Ooh, Beleos just barely skimming under the Dozer there. Coming in with sub 2 minutes, just barely. So if I'm not mistaken, Beleos is one of the, if not the lowest ranked player in their group, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So we would expect normally to see a 5-0, so I wouldn't be surprised if that happens this time for a 5-0 from Paige, since Paige is the second highest in the group, I believe. Yeah, second highest, behind King and Queen. For reference, there are
There we
a total
go.
of 4 groups
Just,
here. Oh, it
just
takes a
slowing down
safe
for the
strat.
dozer.
Yeah, that was a very safe strat. I don't think that was really necessary, but I can respect it. Still on 430 pace. But yeah, Ace just posted it. If you look in the chat, you'll see a link to Challenge or however you pronounce that thing. It'll give you the bracket, and the bracket's broken down into 4 main groups, and Paige is in the same group as King Bean, Dimps, Elascar, the Cylinder, and Beleos, with Paige being the second highest seed and Beleos being the lowest seed.
Ooh. Paige caught fire.
Taking some bumps and damage there too, not too bad though. Kind of awkward boost pattern, probably because of the fire. Also, you can see that she's taken very wide lines through these tunnels. Generally speaking, it's better to wait to boost a little bit later and take a better line, but whatever gets it done. Sometimes you just get a little bit nervous in the moment, start taking those wider lines in favor of boosting, and it's understandable. Probably gonna have to deal with a bad dozer here. It's gonna be pretty high up the hill, I would suspect. Yeah, all the way up.
Yep, at the summit.
Super safe. Yep, super safe, low, high amount of braking. Not gonna be a 430, but pretty close. Yeah, 433. Nothing bad about that.
33.
Alright. So that puts Paige up 2-0. We'll have to see what Beleos chooses to go to after this. It'd be interesting to see if he has a strategy for dealing with higher players. So far, it hasn't seemed that way, but you never know with all these forces. Oh, gets a red engine.
Flashing red, which when you get flashing red compromises your handling. 522.
Full, nearly 50 seconds behind. Nearly. That's just how these groups can be sometimes. You get paired up with lower and higher players, and it's just massive gaps sometimes.
All
right.
Ben.
Beleos bans Ben. It's gonna be interesting. If I were Paige, I would probably ban one of the Aqualaris tracks just to get rid of, like, specifically Sunken City or
Executioner.
Executioner, huh? Okay. I would have banned Sunken City or Bumpy's Breakers because if you get forced to bulls on those, sometimes that shortcut can be sketchy.
The shortcut with bulls on Executioner is sketchy as well.
Oh, Beleos was actually planning Executioner. Nice. Yeah, I would definitely go max traction on Executioner with bulls especially. Even though you do it with Ben, with bulls it's especially important.
Paige is just reading him.
Yeah, Paige really do be reading Beleos' mind. Force is strong with this one. Alright, let's see what Beleos is gonna pick instead. Had to do a change of plan there. I'm expecting, like I said, maybe one of those Aqualaris tracks if he feels like he can get through that shortcut safely. But then again, maybe he hasn't thought of that, because I personally think that Bulls, while he can do it just fine, is a little bit annoying on it. Especially in a tournament setting to do those tracks on, but... Okay, Beleos picks Vengeance. Ooh, that's gonna be interesting.
Vengeance without Ben. Headband bulls.
Oh, Force bans Bulls, which means that we're likely gonna see what, Aldar Beto, maybe? Or maybe even Mars.
Mars is probably the safest bet here, because the ones left in Mahonic and Elon Mac are really greasy like bulls.
Yeah, see, really, your only two options are Aldar, who has terrible handling, or Mars, who has great handling.
Or Elon Mack, who's in there too. You could use Mahonic
Yeah,
or Elon Mack for this track too.
true.
So yeah.
I would say that likely because of the fast train and how you want to cool off there, that it might be Mars is actually faster than Aldar. I don't actually know specifically who's best compared between the two in terms of IL setting, but I would expect probably Mars to be a higher chance of being used.
Yeah. Yeah.
See you here shortly, though. Nacho. Nobody wants to play Bozzy on this track.
Oh my God.
No, thank you.
Game crashed.
Okay, Beleos is going
Mars
to
for
Mars.
Beleos.
That makes sense. I would say even with Mars, you'd still want to go a pretty high traction setting here, because you really want to be able to hold a lot of lines with boost, so that way you can cool off in the fast train. I'm not sure how much Beleos knows about that, but it certainly is something to consider for Paige and other future contestants. Beleos warming up and dying.
Yeah. Well, Yep. Paige is, I think, using Elon Mack?
Oh! Okay, then.
This is what I mean. You could use Mahonic or Elon Mack, who would probably be faster. There's no off-road portion.
I personally wouldn't want to go Mahonic here, just because you have to boost so much in the tubes with his high cool rate compared to Elan. I'm not sure who's actually faster between the two, but...
I think Mahonic optimally is slightly faster than Elon Mack. Okay, both are ready.
Mahonic has a higher average speed. But I'm not sure if Mahonic, due to the fast train's long length, is actually faster in Vengeance or not. It's interesting. Yeah, Elan's definitely not a bad pick here, though.
And why is it that Elon Mack tends to be the sucker punching pod of this whole tournament? It was like this in last year in 2020 and in 2019 as well.
What exactly do you mean by the sucker punch? Like, just surprise pick?
Well, they would pick a safer pod like Mars, and then one player would use Elon Mack and bust the guy with Mars. It happened twice on Inferno with the match between Ace and Mike on Inferno in 2019. And it also happened again between, I think, Metallica and King Bean Dip or even Paige, where I forgot who it was, but it happened both times on Inferno 2 years in a row.
Interesting. Oh, Beleos takes a death in the figure 8 hairpin area. It's a very easy place to die with Mars.
This track just can kill you everywhere.
It really can, and despite what everybody likes to believe about the tubes, generally the tubes are the chill part of the track. Because it really does kill you everywhere.
This tube is never chill for me, because I tend to always start spinning on the second and third laps at low frame rates, and that means I have to dodge those massive rocks and reactor core beam, which not only is certain death, it will kill you even with invincibility.
I will give you 24 FPS. It's not chill anymore. I'll give you that.
106 with Elon Mack.
That's pretty good, I would say. You can do better, but for tournament, that's gonna be good enough most of the time. Oh, Beleos taking a couple deaths in a row here. Mars is really hard to handle on this track if you don't have a lot of knowledge of the track, which I'm assuming, given his overall experience, he probably doesn't have a ton of individual knowledge on Vengeance, since most players tend to avoid it for a while.
Yeah. I personally consider it one of the hardest tracks in the game.
I would say that it definitely can be. Like, it's sort of on the same level of Abyss in the sense that it's not the track itself that's hard, it's the fact that you can die so easily that makes it so hard. So in a tournament setting, it's one of the harder picks to be consistent with.
Yeah.
105 seconds. Okay. Still keeping a good pace here. I think she takes a crash on
is
his
a wide pod.
Yeah,
wide
he really
is.
He's surprisingly wide too. Like, he doesn't really look like it, but he just has those little things sticking out of his engines that make him slightly wider than you think he is.
His binder
Beleos taking more deaths here in the 2. Very commonplace for people to die that don't have the asteroid pattern memorized or play at a low frame rate.
Yeah, this track is hell at low frame rates.
Speaking of, I just noticed that Beleos is running this track at 30 frames a second, which is not recommended.
No, this is like
you go 60. You go 60 on this track.
This track is a catch-22 because at low frame rates the tubes are just atrocious, but at high frame rates you run the risk of sock locking in the tube.
Yeah. And also Ace brings up a good point. 30 is not bad with Mars because he has a higher traction, but still. Also 320 with a crash, that's pretty good.
Yeah. I actually did 321 on this track back in the day with Bullseye Navarre.
Yeah, and Bullseye, of course, being somewhat slower than Elon on most tracks.
Yeah. But the original N64 record holder was Ruder Jansen. I actually first beat his bend time on Vengeance with Bullseye.
At least...
That's how far it's come.
Yeah, at the very least, Wooter knew still that Ben was going to be the best here because he tried to pick the best pod for every track, and he did a decent job. Oh, that's a death
I don't usually see.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen that one before. Oh, it's just spiraling out of control this last lap for Beleos here. The death after death. It's
literal death spiral.
This reminds me of my most recent attempt at 100% skips upgrades. I got to Vengeance and somehow managed to die 4 times. Not good. I rage quit after that. 439. Ooh. Yeah, it's a rough one. All right. Well, let's see what we get here.
Oh, I don't know if that was the oops we were talking about. He said if you watched the video, did a hilarious oops on the tunnel.
I think that would be the one that we were talking about, where he somehow crashed into the yellow part of the tube.
I think that, yeah.
That takes the cake for the most unique death I've seen on Vengeance.
I've done commentary for the past 2 years. I have to say, that is one of the most unusual deaths I've ever saw.
Yeah. Gotta love it, though. Gotta love it. Vengeance always coming out with new surprises, new ways to kill us.
Yes.
I'll find a way to do that someday, now that I've seen it.
Yeah. Bullseye!
Right. Ooh. I'm gonna expect Paige to tempt ban Grabvine, probably? Mm-hmm.
Yes, he did it! Ban Grabvine!
Makes sense, makes sense. People really don't want to go to Grabvine without Bullseye, and I don't blame them.
Oh, yeah.
Neva Key really is not only worse Bullseye, but wider Bullseye, which does not help his case.
And energetic, too. His acceleration is, like, so energetic, he's super hard to control.
I actually toned down his upgrades of acceleration purposefully on that track. Yeah. It's not worth accelerating that much. Alright, let's see what Beleos is going to choose for track and forces. Right now, he's probably two tracks away from being losing this match, most likely. Could bring it back a little bit, win a 1 or 2 probably, but He's got to use his forces smart here. Beleos opts for
Baru
Baru.
Coast.
Oh,
Baru Coast, no force.
Okay. I do know that Paige actually does like Bullseye on Baru. So that's actually not a bad pick.
I would suspect Mars go with this because Ben is so brutal to use here.
Yeah, Mars is easily second best pod on this track. Like, it's by a wide margin that he's better than third.
Yeah.
So if you're not gonna go Bullseye, even if you're used to Bullseye, you might as well go Mars. Although it looks like Beleos's PBs are with Neva Keys, so we might see that. Yes, we are not? Question mark? Ben?
He's going with Ben? Really?
Wow. That's a shocker. If he stays on Ben, that's a bold pick. Paige is Paige gonna also go Ben? Maybe? No?
Both of them are looks.
Elon Mack again. Love to see it. I know Elon Mack is basically capable of around 4 minutes here. I don't know exactly what time, but around 4 minutes. I would suspect that Paige.
I suspect Elon Mack's probably third or fourth with Mahonic.
Okay. Somewhere in there. Ace
Ben
is
and
claiming
Elon Mack? What? I don't think either of us expected this.
No, not the combination I expected.
Oh my god, I have no idea what to expect with this.
Unless Beleos is used to using Ben is not faster than Elon Mack, that's for sure. Even with his higher boost stress, if you don't know what you're doing, it's gonna be a rough time.
Countdown has been given, and I have no idea what to expect with this. Because you should only use Ben on this track if you completely tap out every other pod.
Yeah, Ben really is only useful once you're capable of getting sub 4 with like Mars or something. That's really when he starts being somebody you want to start picking. I remember my first submitted time on this track was like 3:57 with Mars, and that was before I used Ben, so like even then, I still want to pick the easier pods usually, but the Ben pick's super bold.
And also I will say too is that Ben on Baru Coast is considered the second hardest track optimal combination after Bullseye on Graphine.
Yeah, also but Paige taking a death with Elon very early on. And it's actually behind Beleos because of it. Although Beleos taking some interesting lines here. Whoa, flying over the mountain!
I'm amazed he didn't hit the statue!
Mm-hmm.
Beleos is now in the lead temporarily, probably.
Yeah, Elon's superior turning might prove to make Paige have the pass, and Paige passes Beleos back. Huge difference.
This is where the match really comes down to, because Ben just blasts through that beat straight and then struggles in the bends, which is why Mars, Elon, Mahonic, and Bullseye are really fast on this track too.
Yeah, and this track certainly has room to go in terms of how far the world record can go, because there's a lot of hard strategies with Ben, but taking those turns, oh, another death. Beleos is gonna pass Paige back here in a second. Assuming he can do this correctly, assuming. If he can't, doesn't quite get to passing her. 3/10 in between the two.
Using pods, I think neither one is used to on this track.
I really don't think either one of them is used to it, yeah. Right now, they're both barely on a sub 5 pace. Red engine, not a good thing for Ben to see here.
Because this is...
I think we're starting to see Paige pull away a little bit. Might be a little bit unrecoverable for Beleos now.
Yeah.
Unless Paige takes
Particularly
even
with the
more
bands.
deaths, which I suspect that she's gonna play a little bit safer.
And Elon's so much faster, better than Ben at the bends.
Oh yeah. I believe Elon Mac has around a 95 turn rate or something like that, and Ben's is like
Yeah, it's
89.
95.
So it's not a significant difference, but the fact that it's there, really, you can feel it on Burger. It's like it doesn't sound like a lot, but you can really feel it because of the turns being so extreme.
Yeah.
And as you said earlier, Elon is a very greasy pod, and that helps him actually on this track.
Yeah, Ben is a
Alright, coming
really
in.
stiff pod.
Second lap.
Ooh, 123.
123. That's not bad. That's not bad.
Ooh, deep into the red. Looks like Paige is warmed up more to it.
Yeah, I mean,
like...
switching pods always takes some warm-up, so the fact that she went from starting on her favorite track, the most comfortable track of Bunta training with Ben, ending up here somehow with Elon Mac on Peru Coast, I imagine that would take some time to warm up. Alright, Paige coming through the last jungle section, or whatever we call this. I don't even know, I just call it the jungle. Alright. Beleos on his last desert area. Chronoslovakia, these courses have some insane times at the top level. Like, comparing it to how it used to feel when I was a kid, it's so crazy how much faster you can go. And it just seems to really be hard to reach any limits. Although they're clearly there in some sense, it's like, oof.
Even from when I started back in 08, it's just been crazily advanced. 424.
424 with, I think it was 2 or 3 deaths, so yeah. Nothing to complain about there. At least with the deaths. Just means that she was having a decent time overall outside of that. I would imagine that having that many deaths there would be quite unfortunate against most other higher tier opponents, but it gets the job done against Beleos, unfortunately.
Also, she was using a pod she was not used to on this track.
Yeah, for sure. Looks like it's gonna be a 509 for Beleos with Ben. Okay. Coming up on match point here. Paige advantage. I suspect it should be. I suspect it'll be the last race as well, given how it's gone so far. I think Beleos still has, 2 forces remaining, so it'll be interesting to see if he decides to use them this time. Maybe even to do no upgrades or something like that, or skip if he knows any. Ban's ban. Okay. Perhaps an executioner ban again from Paige. Yep. Okay.
Yep. He bans executioner again.
All right, makes sense, I suppose.
Doug Derby.
All right, Doug Derby without Ben, so that leaves Bulls and Mars. Really, is the top 2 or something like that? It's up there. It's around there. Let's see any other forces. I'm kind of hoping that we see maybe even skips here. Be interesting to see if Beleos even knows the skips for Doug Derby. Force ban Bulls. Okay. So now we're basically down to Mars. Oh.
He's using both. He's clearly gonna be using both. Is Beleos gonna ban Bullseye since he just suggested? And what is he gonna do? He's gonna force. He's banning Mars. Oh man,
all right.
We're ducking into it.
So we might be seeing. We're probably gonna see another Elan, to be honest.
So who is the track favorite for this track too?
I'm gonna see the track favorite.
Okay, so we have. So we're banning.
Ben, Bulls, and Mars. What an interesting match this has been.
Lopsided but ridiculous.
For sure. Okay, Beleos, yep, going Bullseye.
Yeah, that makes sense. Bullseye can get
How did we get to
Bullseye's
seeing Elan
pretty good
3
here.
times in a row? Bullseye and Elan are both really solid here.
Yeah.
So if Paige can get a pretty clean run, I think Elan is faster. I think. Don't quote me on that.
I'm not. Yeah, because I know I first broke I broke 140 with Bullseye back in the day.
Yeah, Bullseye
And
can
I think
definitely
Bullseye-
get 130, like 137 or 138 is probably.
137 is around
Yeah.
Bullseye's max if you play him perfectly on this track.
Oh,
Bump,
bad scrapes for
bumpy
Paige
through
there.
the Andretti hairpin.
Okay, but we can already see that superior boost thrust coming into play here on these
Here
longer
comes
straights.
Matt Paige through the roll straight. Corkscrew. And the rainy curve.
Oh,
And-
bad damage for Beleos there. Red engine and Paige pulling away already. That's just how Doug Derby is, though.
35.47.
I think that's okay.
That was alright when he took a bumpy Andretti hairpin first lap.
Yeah, that was certainly a rough one.
Much more consistent roll straight. And go through the corkscrew, which is really hard with Elan. Nails it. Rainy curve again. Oh.
Oh!
Calculated.
Beleos having a little bit of catch-up time, but still pretty far behind.
And if you're wondering why we call these curves the way they are, it's because this track is based off of Laguna Seca in real life, and those are the names of the curves on Laguna Seca.
Oh!
And Paige
Guys
crashes.
in the shortcut area. That's an unfortunate death. Beleos actually
See.
closing ground now. Not a
This is-
ton, but somewhat.
There, Cal. Now he can get one nice boost with this. He can get one nice boost.
Alright, Paige coming in. Last sections here. Beleos through the corkscrew.
Oh, crashes in the corkscrew.
Seemed like really high traction there. I'm not surprised that Bullseye couldn't make that turn. A 151 with a decent number of crashes. Not terrible.
Oh, you're dealing with. This is. I've never. Yes.
I've never seen
Two.
3 Elans in a row.
Oh my god.
But yeah, that was a good match.
Yeah.
It was a very expected outcome, unexpected way of getting to the outcome.
I don't think I've seen a player get so red since King B Dip against Ace last year.
Yeah, it really was kind of ridiculous. Just Paige knew what Beleos wanted at every turn. Welcome, guys.
Hello.
That was a very interesting match.
It was ridiculous to watch.
Hey, he banned a bunch of stuff that let me viably play my favorite pod. So I'm gonna do it.
Yeah, I've never seen 3 Elan picks in a row, gonna be honest.
Hey,
And I just had to ask, did Paige read every one of your track picks?
Well, I didn't have necessarily a strategy, so I kind of was thinking of when it was time to pick, I'd make up a strategy, but also yes.
wait, did I just call them all?
Just most, if not all, yes.
I know I called Executioner.
You
Yes,
called
you did. I've
Executioner
got
for
like
sure.
a 3-second memory, so I'm gonna say 3 out of 4.
Alright then.
Ah!
Helps that I
Mine read
wrote
the whole time.
it helps that I was on the team that wrote the rules originally, so I had the meta in my head from the beginning.
Yeah, you just already knew what was a possible thing. Especially with that Executioner thing. I wouldn't have thought of Executioner. I was talking to Draco, and I was thinking maybe banning something like Sunken City or Bumpy's Breakers due to the shortcut being kind of rough with Bulls, but I can totally understand why you'd ban Executioner too.
It's hard as hell, but I kinda have fun with it. I wasn't expecting the tunnels to give me so much guff, even though I know Mars is huge.
Yeah, that's the reason I picked Elan originally, just because I knew he was a relatively small pod compared to Mars. I'm pretty sure he's
Compared
just
to
standard
Mars,
size.
Basically, everybody is.
I think he's just
small.
standard size.
Elan's pretty, like, maybe slightly above average. I'm not actually sure. I would have to look at the sheet, but,
Yeah,
it's
but
certainly above average for the Asteropods, question mark? Except
I don't
for Mahonic
know.
and Mars exist. I don't know. Maybe it's just
Mahonic has normal size stats. He just has a bigger visual model. That one I know.
Gotcha.
Like he's not large.
So really, then it's just Eldar and Mars then that are bigger.
I think so.
Okay. Yeah, pretty average regardless, but I sincerely would never have expected to see Elon 3 times in a row. I mean,
Neither did I going into it.
I guess it was actually a smart pick though, Beleos, when you banned Bullseye on Baru Coast, because that tends to be what Paige does Baru Coast with.
Oh, I was just
At
thinking
least
in
that's-
general how Bullseye's super agile.
I'm not going to
And
spoil.
anything's on Barunda is pretty rough otherwise.
Fair. I'm not going to spoil anything, but I'll just say Bullseye is what I did Baru Coast on 6 months ago.
Oh.
Oh, either she's trying to trick us with meta, or she's actually been switching it up. Ooh,
Double
the
bluffing.
mystery. We shall see later in the tournament.
Oh, on
perhaps.
Baru, I had the silliest crash there. I got that little mountain jump, like in the
Out of bounds
first
timer?
of the track. Yeah, and I was gonna
yeah.
do a little hard drop back onto the track, but I managed to hard drop like onto an invisible wall.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
and
just
also
died, like,
speaking of crazy deaths,
in the
speaking
midair.
of
I
weird
don't
deaths,
know.
you had that weird death in Vengeance.
yeah,
Crashing
I
into
hit,
the side, the yellow part of the tube.
yeah, the
Oh,
little
what?
hazard.
You hit the door?
I didn't even know you could do that.
It
You
wasn't
just
the
crashed.
door. He didn't crash he didn't crash to the door. He crashed at the edge of the tube. Swung so wide he hit the edge of the tube, which is really hard to do.
You know the big section that
Really
has
is.
like 2 branching paths that are closed off by like those purple shield things? He hit the yellow part on the outside of the tube.
Yeah, it's only like 20, 30 feet long, so it's like a whatever segment. But I was accelerating back up to speed after go figure, having hitting an amp.
Yeah, you were accelerating with Mars and went like he strafed all the way to the right and it just went right into the tube.
Yeah, right at invincibility wore off.
Well,
Don't know
anyway,
how
back to
realistic.
the match. How did you feel about that Paige? Like your overall performance?
I mean, not great on any of the Elan stuff,
I suppose that makes sense.
but I mean,
Elan's
I didn't come
not
in that
expected.
practiced on him.
Yeah.
But I mean, I didn't come in anticipating pulling him out. I was planning on pulling out Bowls, but figured I'd have some time. Ace, I am really sad about losing that boost.
Oh yeah, that was an unfortunate tournament record loss right there.
Like, that was
Yes.
on that.
Literally, you lost like half a second at least, probably.
That was on pace for 35.8.
Yeah. So 0.4, 0.5, somewhere in there.
And now I'm not going to get another chance to play it.
Yeah, no.
No, Mike, I got kicked up into the air by one of the tiny rocks.
Those tiny rocks suck. I've had that happen so many times. I hate it.
I just went slightly wide right.
Like that really make that difference? Damn.
Yes.
You know,
Because you can't max out your heat at the end if you do that.
yeah, like if you
Probably.
lose on boost at the start of the track, it's still technically doable. But it's way harder.
Yeah.
Like, say you lose your boost at the top of the hill, you just start your last boost a little earlier and you can get back onto standard heat.
Okay, yeah, but when you're that close to the finish line, there's
Exactly.
Like, just charging
There's no
up
room
isn't
left, yeah.
based.
And I think a whole second of lost boost time is something like 0.4, 0.5 seconds time loss with Ben or something like that. I don't remember the exact number.
Well, plus you got to remember being in the air slows you down a bit, so you lose a little more for that, even though it's not much.
Yeah, it's pretty minuscule though.
Yeah,
If
but
you
it's still like,
somehow managed to retain your boost, you would have been fine.
yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, no, Ace, you're right on that. It may have been a shutout, but Beleos has gotten so much better since the last time I saw him play.
Oh yeah, that's a good point. Look, if you think about the quals, even compared to this, I thought that was a lot better this time.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you PB'd Baru Coast, right?
What was it? No, it was a PB for not dying.
Ah! See, I mean, I died, what, twice or 3 times?
2 or 3 times. I don't remember exactly. Also, not dying with Ben on Baru Coast is a feat in and of itself.
I thought it probably wasn't quite as hard just because he's hardier than the zippier pods.
That's true,
Yeah.
but he does not turn compared to
No.
them, so it's easy to scrape a lot. Or misjudge a turn. I noticed that your PB was Neva Keys. I was expecting you to go Neva.
Well, those PBs are from the start of this tourney because I deleted the one race file.
Oh, okay.
The TGDDF whatever.
TGFD.dat.
That's the one.
That's the one, yeah. Oh, who does on the Switch?
You might be looking at mine, Mike.
Either that. Wait, Beleos, did you not die at all, or did you die a minimum number of times? I can't remember. Which one it was.
Once or twice. I managed.
Okay, so it was
mostly
just your
on
least
PB.
number of deaths then. Got it.
Oh yeah.
Gotcha. Well, either way, dying that little with Ben is still a feat.
Yeah, no, Ben on Baru is hard. That's why I didn't pick him.
It's arguably the second hardest thing to do in terms of full track in the game. Optimally,
I mean, arguably
so.
the hardest.
You could argue it, but I would still say Gravine's harder personally.
Yeah, I'm with you there.
Gravine, Bullseye's like, yeah. Well, thank you guys
That
for
was-
coming in here to do an interview with us. Good games. Good job to both of you.
Yeah, it was definitely a fun one.
Yeah, it was
Putting
fun to
this
watch.
on, that
and-
was a blast.
Yeah. Certainly was. I enjoyed commentating with thank you for commentating with me, Draco. I suppose I technically joined you, but it's always fun doing stuff with you, man. And
This has gotta
thank
be
you
one of the
all
most
for watching.
ridiculous matches I've ever seen. Good luck. May the force be with you.
Good night, guys.